Episode 3. Technically episode 2 because
We don't talk about the first episode
we do talk about the first episode. But we are
sometimes
the only
when
ones
we're
watching these,
confused.
and perhaps guidance counselor people, so
Perhaps guidance
and
counselor people,
maybe
but no one else.
friends, perhaps.
Perhaps. But our friends don't actually care about us, so.
Yes. We're back. Episode 2. Steeped. I'm George.
I'm not.
You're not. You're not George.
I'm Krissa.
We're here again. It's the holiday season, and my hands are cold and dry.
Are they never not cold and dry?
Not in the winter, or not, not in the summer. They're nice
Not in the summer.
and warm and dry.
And sweaty.
Yes.
And moist from the humidity.
Yes.
I was gonna say your humidity, but that wouldn't make sense. I don't know where my brain is at
probably
today.
produce humidity to some degree, but that's besides the point, Krissa. It's time for the
Wow.
question of the week. And do you know what the question of the week
Okay.
is?
No, I'm illiterate.
Or should I say the questions of the week? Oh, we have 2. The first one being,
Haha.
what is your favorite winter beverage? Would you like to go?
No, my favorite anything. I don't pay attention. Let's say hot chocolate, but also I drink hot chocolate year round because I'm
Thirsty.
a child. That
Hot chocolate
too.
is good.
Hot chocolate is very tasty.
Hot chocolate is respectable.
Respectable choice.
Although generic.
I have a question though. What the hell is eggnog?
I also don't know what eggnog is.
Why is it called that?
I think
What's
it's
in
like,
it?
It's like alcoholic egg.
Is
milk.
it alcoholic? But
Yeah,
children
it's
drink
definitely
eggnog.
well. There's alcoholic and non-alcoholic, but like
The
I feel like
virgin.
in all the shows they're like club drunk from eggnog now. You know?
Okay, well, you know what? Here I'll read out the synopsis. The synopsis of the eggnog beverage. I don't think that's the term for it. Description? Summary? Is description the word I'm looking for?
Perhaps I don't know. Process of making eggnog.
Okay. Anyways, eggnog. Eggnog with a space between egg and nog, or eggnog between with a hyphen between egg and nog. Historically also known as milk punch or egg milk punch,
Milk.
is a
punch.
rich, chilled, sweetened dairy-based beverage. It is traditionally made with milk, cream, sugar, whipped egg whites, and egg yolks. That sounds disgusting.
Sounds so good. Really.
What are you talking about? It sounds like you're drinking
It's just like
eggs.
cake batter
Just a
without
raw
water.
egg. It is just cake batter. How do you not die from this?
Mm,
Isn't it raw eggs? Wouldn't you get salmonella?
no, I don't think
Salmonella.
you don't have to get salmonella. And I think they're like mixing in enough sugar that it's just for texture. But
Are you sure?
my favorite winter beverage. We're going on a tangent about eggnog, which neither of us have drank or know anything
I
about.
don't know what eggnog is. I want clarification. I want answers. You should know what eggnog is.
I
You're the
know.
one of us that's knowledgeable.
Eggnog. I don't know what it is. Look up if it's alcoholic. Well, I'll give my answer. My answer is
Okay.
also hot chocolate. Not with whipped cream or marshmallows. Not a fan of whipped cream or marshmallows.
See,
And it's the worst when it's like watery or like overly sweet. Because I like it when it's like, I don't know. I can't give a good sugar baseline. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. But
well,
like
what do you mean you don't like whipped
the hot
cream or
chocolate at
marshmallows?
Union Square.
Oh
and
my
at the
God.
winter market when they put in the truffle, very good.
It is so hot. It burns your tongue. Are we talking about the same thing? Are we talking about the hot
No
chocolate
chewing
you
allowed?
buy, or are we talking about the free ones you get?
No chewing allowed, or what do you? I don't know.
I
We're
think
probably
it's
talking about
called
different
no
ones.
chewing allowed. It's like fudge, right?
Yeah, they like put in truffles in the bottom, and it's so
Wait, really?
yeah.
I don't buy things from the winter market. I'm poor.
That's the only thing I've
Um,
ever bought from there, I think, because they're really good.
I was gonna buy earrings from there for someone or for myself, but then I also remembered that I don't have earring holes. But I saw like I think someone in school wearing them. They were like little goldfish bags, and they're really cute.
Wow.
The winter market is extremely bougie though.
It
It's
is.
so pricey.
I
Okay.
always go in there and
Anyways.
never buy anything, but yeah.
Oh, actually,
I was gonna go on a
I mean,
tangent about getting ditched when I went there, but
I mean, you could if you wanted to,
I could,
but I
but
wanted to talk
also-
about is alcoholic. According to the first Google result by BoulderLocavore.com, I think I'm
our
mispronouncing
favorite
that.
our favorite website.
Our favorite website, if you couldn't tell. We go on there so often. Eggnog is a rich, sweetened dairy milk-based drink that. Okay, does milk not typically have dairy? Anyways, dairy milk-based drink that traditionally includes alcohol. Historically, it was served with chilled with a frothy consistency thanks to whipped egg whites.
Interesting.
Traditionally includes alcohol. I don't know why children are drinking it then. Very interesting. Very, very curious.
A curious
What were you
subject, for
talking
sure.
about? You said you were something about getting ditched at
Getting
the winter
ditched at the
market?
holiday market. That's it.
Wow. Sounds sad.
There is a story I could tell, but I
Do
walked
you
home with
want to tell
Wally. I
it?
remember. Should I? But
Oh,
we're not
yeah.
talking about. We're not here to talk about. You know why not? I'll go on a nice little. It's not a long story though. Like I went, or I was going to go, and then I was waiting, and then the person who I was gonna go with never came, and then I started walking, and then Tali was there, and she called said person. And they were like, "Oh yeah, I'm here with someone else of romantic interest, let's say."
Gasp.
And then I just walked home with Tali, which was nice, cause like I'd rather have genuine conversation than go and talk over hot chocolate. And
Ditched.
then when we actually did go,
Hmm.
the person ditched me again.
Again.
Yeah, to like go to Union Square, and I was like, kind of toxic, even though we were
But
already
the
there.
winter market is in Union
I know, but like
Square.
you know how like they have the back in the day, everyone would like gather there on the stairs.
Oh,
I
for
never
the
went,
puff
but
puff. For the
yeah,
puff puff.
yeah. Apparently I wouldn't know, but
Clearly,
he just left me for
clearly,
that,
we're
and I
too
was
many.
like,
We're
okay,
too.
kind of
Oh,
toxic.
just like a little bit, like a
Yeah,
little bit sad,
but
being ditched for vape. That's what we're alluding to. I
I'm
should
a,
have just said it outright, but
also
puff puff
person,
works just fine.
person
Also,
and
person.
vape, but I don't know.
Are you still friends with them?
No,
Ah, interesting. Good for
I
you.
can't wait to like have enough people listen to this, and I can be like, I don't know if they're listening to this podcast, but that'll never happen because we'll never share it with anyone. But anyway,
That's fine. It's our prerogative too. Regardless. Second question of the week because we have two. What's your favorite movie to watch while drinking
Polar
said winter
Express,
beverage? What?
Polar Express, or the Tom and Jerry Nutcracker special,
Talk about
or
this last week? I feel like we talked about this last week.
we did, but now we're doing it again.
Okay. Well, anyways, I'm gonna go on the same exact tangent I went on before. Polar Express is terrifying. I hate it. The motion capture is the animation so uncanny valley. I am horrified every time I look at it. The hot chocolate looks delicious. The thing about the bell made me very sad. Also the hot chocolate scene where all the waiters deliver hot chocolate to you.
Yes,
I would like to experience that in real life.
I wouldn't.
Seems
I would
fun.
be so scared. What do you mean? I'm under like 20 dudes just like flipping over me. Just what if you like got up while they were like shooting the hot chocolate and like went in your
And they
eye? It's
burn
like
you. They
scalding hot.
burn
Yeah,
you.
you would burn.
I am now Todoroki Shoto.
That
Alternatively Zuko
that would be pretty cool.
for the non-Weeb fans.
But yes, those are our drinks of choice and our movies, I suppose.
What other movies do we like, George?
Christmas movies or Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Oh, ho, ho, ho. What a
Oh,
transition! Today we were gonna talk about Scott Pilgrim. We did a watch party recently with
recently.
somewhat recently. It was like a month
It's been
ago.
like a month.
That's time. Time is a concept. Time is not real. But we
Not real
watched it.
question mark.
We all enjoyed it. I have seen it many times.
I've seen it too many
We
times.
went over it. We analyzed it. We made it miserable to watch.
We made.
And
Oh, I feel so bad for everyone who hadn't seen
they
it
enjoyed it.
before.
They enjoyed parts of the movie. Hopefully,
They enjoyed the part we made them watch like 80 million times.
yes, in silence.
In silence. You weren't allowed to speak. We would mute everyone in the call.
But yeah, it was fun. That was a fun time.
We were literally just like running. Okay, you weren't. I was. I was a running commentary track, just like the entire movie. I would not shut up.
It was
I was
interesting
like,
though.
yeah, do you see what this means? There's like,
A
what
film
was the
professor.
term? It was like one stripe and one eye
What does
because
it
he's the
mean?
first
He's the
evil
first evil
X.
X.
Ahaha. Okay.
But
We're sorry for people who haven't seen Scott Pilgrim already, but if you couldn't tell, we're kind of like massive nerds about it. Ahaha.
speak for
Scott
yourself.
Pilgrim. You say this every time I make a generalization about us, and this time it does in fact apply to you.
Nerd is like
you are
for
the nerd that I'm
50-year-old.
speaking about.
No one calls people nerd anymore.
Nerd.
Nerd is a slur, and I will not be called a nerd ever again.
Fine,
so
I'll just
dumb.
call you straight. Does that work better for you? Does
No,
that work better
not
for you?
that either. That's worse. Nerd is just dumb. Like, wow, you're a person who like cares about things and like studies stuff. Nerd, haha. And then
George,
like,
you're talking about yourself.
I am,
You are.
but nerd
But.
aside, Scott Pilgrim. What are thoughts? What are we
I can
gonna
read
talk
the
about
synopsis
first?
first. because I feel bad for anyone who hasn't watched the film. Like, it has a massive like cult following because again, the director is Edgar Wright, and Edgar Wright has his own cult following.
What about
But
Edgar
like
Left and Edgar Wrong?
his lesser known brothers and cousins respectively. You know, the black sheep of the family, just like we are.
Black Sheep.
I can't speak for you, like I am. Regardless, here is a Scott Pilgrim synopsis. As a bass guitarist for a garage rock band, Scott Pilgrim, Michael Cera, who we hate,
In the movie. Kind of in general.
I would fight Michael Cera. There's no real reason for me to fight Michael Cera. Like, I don't know why I want to. I just think I could beat him in a fight, therefore I would. He's probably like 5'8", so I would in fact lose.
I'll look up his height right now while you do the synopsis.
I would fight him regardless. Anyways, Scott Pilgrim, Michael Cera, has never had trouble getting a girlfriend. Usually, the problem is getting rid of them. Which, again, this is me cutting in, will make no sense as we go over it, and we're going to complain about it, or at least I'm going to complain about it so heavily, because this is the one plot point that I hate so much. Anyways, but when Ramona Flowers, brilliant name, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who we love, gets into his heart, he finds she has the most troublesome baggage of all. An army of ex-boyfriends who will stop at nothing to eliminate him from her list of suitors. Okay, to clarify, it's not ex-boyfriends. This synopsis is on something. But also it's like a synopsis from Wikipedia, which like, is it the most reliable? It's exes, emphasis on exes and not ex-boyfriends. But yes, it's very fun movie, very video game styled, and that shows through in a lot of like the animation. It's not an animated movie, but there are like animated like cut-ins, the way that's directed and edited. It's like very clear there is a video game influence, just like there was a video game influence in the comic, which it's based off of.
Yes.
George, did you find Michael Cera's height?
5'9".
Oh,
We're the same height. I'm probably a little taller, so I could like, I don't know, do nothing.
how?
Just like look down at him very slightly, and he'd be like, oh,
Very slightly.
very slightly. But
Now that you're contextualizing that, no, I could not in fact beat Michael Cera in a fight.
he'd look down at you and be like, "Do not touch me.
Puny.
I have money,
I have money. I have
Scott Pilgrim.
lawyers. What do you have?
fists, pew pew,
Allergy.
peanuts." Nom, 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 nom. Anyhow, peanuts
Anyhow.
aside, when did you first see the movie? Because I have a interesting story-ish, kind of.
Wow, you have an interesting story about it. I don't actually remember when I first saw the movie. I might have been like younger or something, and it was just like something that I saw someone else watch and they did a review on it, and I was like, cool, movie review, seems interesting. Guess I'll watch it for myself so I can also be in the know about the culture, be important, be self-important, and realize that, you know, it's a really good movie. I feel like you told us the story, not us as in the audience, but also the audience is probably just the two of us in this call. I feel like you told the story about like when you first saw Scott Pilgrim the Call. I don't recall though. Could be a different story though.
Let's recall the story. So I was in San Francisco at my friend's house, my best friend's house from San Francisco, and we were staying there for some reason. Or not for some reason, we had nowhere else to stay, and we were visiting San Francisco. For like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I forgot why we were there, but we were there. Must have been like, I was like 12, maybe 11, and the only movie they had was Scott Pilgrim on their like TV, and they're like, "Oh, it's really good. We keep on coming back to it." And I was like, "Okay." And then I sat down and I watched it, and then I watched it like 4 more times in the same day. And
George,
I
it's
thought
a
it was
lot
really
of
good.
times.
I know. I think I had it on like in the background after the first like 2 times, but very good. Watched it a lot. Only movie we had, or they had, and yes, that's my story. It was very good. I
Wow,
liked
your
it.
origin
I thought it was
story.
very aesthetic, and then I did not think at all about like Scott Pilgrim being poopy. I like the music as well. I remember listening to Black Sheep
Black Sheep.
and then all the other songs.
Black
'Cause
Sheep
I was
by
like, this
Metric.
is so good.
Okay.
Not
okay,
by
to
Metric though.
clarify, not by Metric. Black Sheep by Envy Adams,
Brie
aka
Larson.
what's her name, Brie Larson. Peak musical talent. It's gorgeous. It's wonderful. I love it. The fact that they don't have it on Spotify is very, very rude. They have like the original band that wrote it, and I don't want to say it's worse
It is. It's worse.
than the Envy Adams
It's
cover.
worse. It's
But
much worse.
it doesn't hit the same. it doesn't hit the same. Also, my leg is numb, so you're gonna hear me like quietly screaming in the background while I try to undo it.
Wake it up. But yeah, Black Sheep is a bop. The whole soundtrack is pretty good. But
I have
now
to learn instruments to do stuff for the movie,
they
like to
did.
produce the
I've
movie
seen
and
so
stuff.
many of. I've seen the background video on Universal. I think they have it on YouTube, and I've
Oh,
seen it so many
really?
times. Like apparently Michael Cera already knew how to play bass, but then the other people had to learn. And what's her name? The actor that plays or the actress that plays the drummer had to learn because drums is like a hard instrument to learn. And I think they only had like 2 weeks, maybe a few months. I don't know, but
Like
they,
drums
they
is
all had to learn.
not like specifically if you just want to like get down like rolls and drum fills and stuff like that's not hard. But when you're playing like drum set or drum kit, it's so much harder.
Limit
I
independence. Mm-mm.
there's
I
you
can't. Yeah.
you have to put so much thought into it, and I'm like I can't do that. I can't focus on that many things at once. It'll stress me out. But that's really impressive that they managed to pick it up in like what I would argue like a short amount of time. I
Yeah.
don't think it took them that long. And I'm
Movie
like,
production is, and then also what's it called? Neil, the like, young Neil. He had to also learn his instrument.
oh really?
Yeah, they all had to learn. And then I think Brie Larson might have.
Brie Larson
She
could
probably
sing.
had something. She was already like that.
She was already perfect.
But
Haha.
yeah, very good. Very good
Okay.
music. But now we'll talk about
Music,
the
soundtrack.
movie.
Oh my god. Okay, you were in my ear. I don't know if I appreciated that, but I'm sure someone did. Someone that is not
No,
watching this video.
no, I hope not.
We pray not. Please don't appreciate
Get
us
out of
at
here
all.
right now if you are that person.
You
Immediately
immediately.
exit. Exit. Don't you ever come back.
Don't you ever return to our unlisted YouTube videos that you no longer have the link for.
That you've hacked into just to hear me scream into
Scream
the
into your
microphone.
mic.
Even though I wasn't, I was just like very close to it, so it's loud. But we're getting
Other than the
so
music and soundtrack.
speak up. Let's talk about the movie.
Oh
Say
my
something about
god.
the movie, Krista. Go ahead. I
Anyways, other
insist.
than the movie and soundtrack, what's your favorite part about it?
Cinematography.
Oh?
Everything. The performances are really good. Uh, the transitions are really good. The shots are
Transitions
really
are
good.
gorgeous.
The like comic lettering stuff that they put in is very
The way
good.
that it shows up and it's like it feels like a comic book, it gives off that vibe. Because it's not just like bam pow like the generic comic book thing. Like
It's cool.
there's thought put into it. It's like it's organized to a certain degree the way that panels in a comic book would be organized. Like the way that everything is shot, it has a lot of like
It's very good.
intent in replicating the way that it was originally made in its original medium. And you can tell by like the animation of the fight scenes and the way that certain things happen. It's very clear that Edgar Wright wanted to preserve the integrity
Edgar.
of the story. Edgar, yes, we know him on a personal level. Edgar, more like Edgar. Ahaha, I'm so sorry. It's just
Continue.
like it's very obvious that he wanted to maintain that. It takes a lot. Like I really respect that because, like, first of all, the comic books weren't done when like the movie was in production.
Yeah,
He had to like
I thought they made
him.
them at the same time ish.
They were being made at the same time. I'm pretty sure they had like the first 2 or 3 volumes done. I feel like it's a manga term and not a comic book term. It
I
might be a
guess.
comic book term. It was like the first 2 or 3 volumes done because that's obviously what they're basing the entire movie off of. But he had to like completely create a new ending, and it was a lot of like the ending in the movie isn't the same as the ending in the comic books just because of that reason. And also in the comic books, of course, since it's a longer medium, you can publish multiple comic books. You can't make more than one movie really to tell this one story. It's like Scott gets a lot more development that you don't really see in the movie, which is like why, although I love the movie and I really really like it, it's why personally I think that the comic books are stronger in that aspect. Like I end up hating Scott Pilgrim in the movie. I end up hating Michael Cera in the movie.
Is he a
But
better?
in the comic books, it's like he actually grows and develops, and isn't the creep that he is in the movie. You're saying something though?
No, I was just gonna say, is he like a good human being in the comic books? But you just
He's
answered.
not originally, but like
He grows.
he grows, and that's what's important. Growth, because like he actually puts work into his and Ramona's relationship as compared to like being the complete God, I want to say this jackass that he is in the movie, where it's just like, ah ha ha, why won't Ramona love me even though I'm cheating on this like high schooler? He's what, like 20
That's so
something in the
sus.
movie?
I hated that part. He's
He is
22.
like, he's canonically 22 and he's dating like a 17-year-old. How creepy is that? Like, there are women your own age that reportedly wanted to date you.
Kim?
Why are you
Why did you break up with Kim? You could have been.
exactly? Why? Okay, to be fair, Envy Adams dumped him, which like what he deserves,
I can relate.
what he deserves, retribution. But like, why would you rebound with a child, a minor? Okay, the story takes place in Canada, so I don't know Canada's age of consent laws, but I just think that like honestly, age difference isn't actually what matters when you're. This is controversial. Age difference isn't actually what matters when you're talking about like why your relationship is creepy, because obviously like a 5-year age difference when you're talking about like a 40-year-old and a 45-year-old is completely different from age difference when you're talking about like a 12-year-old and a 17-year-old. It's not on the same level. It's not the age difference that really makes it creepy. It's not the implication of the age difference, and it's the difference in maturity. Because when you have like a 22-year-old who is supposed to have graduated college, is supposed to be like self-sufficient and has his own job and is able to take care of himself, but he is dating a child who is like still figuring things out about themselves, are still developing and are very focused on like a very different point in their life that this 20-year-old 2-year-old has like already surpassed. It's like there's a clear power imbalance and there's this like obvious level of disconnect between the two of them. Like you can't really create a relationship based off of that when there's like no real point for the two of them to connect. It's something that's brought up in the movie. Like, again, it's still creepy that they're essentially just lampshading like Scott dating Knives, which is the 17-year-old. That's her name, Knives Chow. And they're always lampshading. It's like, ew, Scott, you're dating a 17-year-old, scandalous or creepy. And like, that's not really addressing the issue. That's not like you didn't have to include this. Just saying that it's bad doesn't mean that you're actually criticizing what happens or the thought process that goes into it, because at the end of the day, Scott Pilgrim is still the protagonist. He still gets a happy ending. But there was like one scene, I think, when Knives was just like describing stuff that was important to her and stuff that was important to her life, which was like, school drama with her high school friends and stuff like that, as compared to like, and Scott just like being completely disconnected and like not at all relating. Which, on one hand is just clearly Scott being a shitty person and a shitty boyfriend. But on the other hand, it also kind of references the way that such a relationship is oftentimes inappropriate just because of like the mental state and like level of maturity and like point in life that the two participants are in, which I appreciated, but I also don't appreciate that entire storyline in general because I'm like, why would you do this? But in the comic books, I'm pretty sure I read a review on this because I didn't read the comic books personally, just because I'm like, I don't want to buy them.
That's a lot of
But I'm pretty
peeps.
sure Kim and Knives end up, which is cute because like gay, but also I don't know how cute because gay, yes, but also I still don't know how I feel about that, just given that Knives might still be a minor when they're dating. Again, I don't know Canada's age of consent laws, but it's like I don't know different maturity levels and where you're at in life. It's
Okay.
key.
So I think I just looked it up. They said 16 is the age of consent. So like technically it's legal, but as you were saying, like they're
But is it right?
no morally sticky, stinky, icky bicky,
Stinky.
not good. Like they're completely different, developmental stages in their lives, and especially like framing it like this when you have like complete narrative control. Like why would you?
Would you?
Kind of sus, perhaps.
It's
Perhaps
also like
not a good thing to do.
because it's clear that at some points it's clear that Scott is like the bad guy in the relationship, like, but also at the same time, again, like I mentioned before, he's the protagonist, he's the main character,
Yeah,
he
like
still gets
you're
a
supposed to
happy
be
ending.
sympathetic for him. I feel like
You're supposed to be sympathetic towards him, so you don't really get the sense of like retribution or like, yeah, Scott Pilgrim is a bad guy like you do in the comics. You kind of get the sense of like, oh, Scott Pilgrim, he's like a little quirky, he made a couple mistakes, but you don't really analyze and go in depth about why what he did was wrong. And I think that what led to like a lot of guys coming out of the movie or like leaving the movie with this idea of like, oh yeah, I'm Scott Pilgrim. I love Scott Pilgrim. He's me. We're like awkward nerds who don't really know what we're doing, and we're a little socially awkward and we struggle with relationships. But he gets to have a happy ending. He has all these hot girls pining after him. That's me. I want to be Scott Pilgrim. as compared to, in the comic books, like recognizing Scott's flaws and talking about how he's like manipulative and irresponsible and how he's unwilling to approach these aspects of himself or these characteristics of himself, which is like why so many girls broke up with him or like actually hate him. And it's like, like people look up to him as an idol, and it's like, no, like we hate Scott Pilgrim. You're not technically supposed to like him, although like the narrative frames it as like, again, just through the limitations of film and also just needing to have a central protagonist as you would again in like the main video game based style, and also just like in typical narrative, it's like, oh yeah, Scott Pilgrim, good guy, he get happy ending. But that's not the case at all. Like you're not supposed to leave the comic book at least thinking that.
Yeah.
But you do with the movie, which really, really sucks. If you're not like thinking critically about it, of course, which some film bros don't, which leads into this whole conversation about misogyny and
Film
racism and all
bros.
this bad stuff in like the film community. Listen, George, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I thought you were a film bro for a really long time, but also, which is why I didn't like you.
My cover's been blown. I'm a film bro.
You're a film bro. You're a
But
film bro, George.
I just looked up, and
But
apparently, Kim and Knives make out when they're drunk, and that's
oh,
problematic. Even more so. But
don't like that because of
yeah,
consent and just like
and
inebriated
also just
state.
like the idea that like sexuality comes out only when you're drunk.
Mm-hmm.
Stinky, but that's one of many stinky things about the movie. You were gonna say something, and then I cut you off, kind of.
I don't know if I was going to say something. I don't remember what I was going to say anymore. But in terms of, okay, I know it sounds like we're ragging on this movie, but
We
that's
are.
literally because we can't like describe to you how beautiful it is. Because honestly, go watch it. We really, really do love it. And like the cinematography and the music and the soundtrack
But
is
the plot.
gorgeous. But the plot,
Mm-mm.
the plot,
Some of the characters.
we don't like it that much. Like there's certain aspects of it that we don't like. For example, the casual racism.
Oh my god.
I. You want to talk about it or should I talk about it?
happens?
Because I feel like
I just
I'm a lot.
remember what's his name. The guy.
First Evil X.
Gideon.
Yes.
And the first. Oh, you go ahead.
No.
Okay.
You do it.
Let's see. So what are the first thing? He's a very one-dimensional character. Like, I don't know. I don't know how do I explain it.
One-dimensional. First Evil X. 1 and 1. Ahaha. But also that's just like the process of how it's written. Again, video game, comic book antagonists are not supposed to be like multi-dimensional people. If you're only gonna spend like what 10 minutes on them, not that important.
But I don't know. They just carry like this kind of Orientalism where it's like because he's not what they like characterize him as, like this mystical, wacky being, and I guess they do that for the other characters throughout the movie. But like it feels different in his case because they're like using like traditionally like I don't know.
Because they're using the focus isn't on him being a bad person or being a bad character. They force the emphasis of like where his power comes from on him being like
Different.
what South Asian,
Yeah.
him being different. Like for another Evil X. By the way, major spoilers for Scott Pilgrim versus the World. If you weren't aware already, based on how much we're bitching about it. Oops. But he like what's his name? Todd. Todd's powers come from him being vegan or like something like that. And then the second Evil X, like their powers don't stem from their culture and their race the way that Gideon's does because he's South Asian. Like he has this entire
What's his name? His name's not
Bollywood.
Gideon. His name's Matthew Patel. That's his name.
Is it?
The first guy.
Oh,
The last guy is
who's
Gideon.
Gideon? Gideon is the last guy, right?
Yeah.
Alright. So Matthew Patel, whatever. First Evil X. It's like there's such an emphasis on his culture, and it's very appropriative. Like it doesn't feel right at all because they're having like this Bollywood dance behind him, and they make his entire power rooted in that culture and rooted in it, but it's in a way that isn't appreciative or doesn't like show real depth or understanding about like the importance and significance of certain things. It's like you're just adding it in because it's there and because you want to have it. Also, none of the main cast is like BIPOC. They're all white people, other than Knives. But again, there is something to be said about white Asian Americans or like Asian people in general and white adjacency, which is not to like undermine Asian struggle and stuff, but it's just like the double standard as to why she's getting cast, but also there's a lot of weird racial issues with her too, like
Oh
Knives
yeah.
Chow. Like, why is her name Knives? First of all, and also there's this trope of like screenwriters only knowing how to like make Asian women specifically interesting by like giving them dyed hair or like giving them a tragic past or something. You see it in a lot of characters, and it's just like, I love this movie, but like, it's you can kind of see it there, that trope there too, because Knives' only point, and it's like again, it's something to comic book, but when you adapt it to film, there are its own implications, there are its own tropes that it's like filling into. It's like, she's only there to love Scott as like this docile love interest, which is another thing, like the stereotype of like the
I was gonna say
Asian woman being like delicate and soft and just like, ugh. And
stinky.
then also her having to dye her hair and like, and also I didn't like the fact that like they were playing a ninja game together, and like she's Asian, and like the implications of that, it doesn't feel right,
Oh, and then
man.
the
Doesn't feel right at
twins.
all.
Didn't they have like the you were talking
Oh
about
yeah, the twins.
the flag, the imperial like Japanese flag or something?
Yeah,
And
it
then what
wasn't
else?
in red, so like obviously not the same thing. But it's still the imperial Japanese flag. And first of all, it's a hate symbol, comparable to the swastika and also the Confederate flag. Like, it's I don't know how to describe it to people who weren't colonized, like who weren't from cultures that were colonized and tortured by Japan. But it's like Japan has a really really brutal history, and I feel like a lot of people in the West don't really recognize that or are willing to recognize that. And it's like that's intentional. Like the Japanese government is like pushing forward this narrative that Japan is non-threatening and this is not as like dangerous as it was and as it is, when like, hey, World War II, rape of Nanking, colonizing like a bunch of Asia and just trying to take over that entire region. But like, that's one thing, but to have that flag, that symbol on ja- I don't know if they're canonically Japanese or something. I don't know if this ever addressed, like on Japanese characters, that being like their one trademark, it's so gross. Like, you can write people of color characters as more than just like their race and their ethnicity. And like, oh, because I love the movie. I adore the movie. But it's still so gross. And also, that's not to mention that the fact that the two are twins. And like, there's this idea of like all Asian people. I mean, all BIPOC people in general, but specifically Asian people, all like Asian people being the same or being similar to each other or being similar enough to each other and like looking the same and acting the same and essentially being the same person. And like, it just shows through in this specifically because like Ramona dated both of them and they both look identical. And it's
At the
like,
same time.
ew, at the same time. And I'm like, but why did they have to be Asian though? Did they have to be Asian, or is this just like, because again, I'm pretty sure the writer of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is a cishet white male, which like would explain a lot of things. And it's like, this doesn't feel right. And they also don't have a single speaking line. They're the one, or well, rather, they're the two X's in the movie, or like the antagonists in the movie, that don't have a single speaking line. Very icky.
Coincidence? No.
Definitely not.
Ooh. Oh, this thickens the plot a little bit. But he is Brian Lee O'Malley is white and Korean. He's biracial. Um,
Oh,
still, still,
interesting.
still
That's an
sinky.
interesting choice then. Then why would he use the Imperial Japanese flag? He's Korean. He knows what it means. Well, we can't. That's a rhetorical question. You can't answer it. Uh, obviously.
Oh wait, what else?
That's
What
so
else?
icky.
The thingy with what's her name? Like the female evil X.
Oh, Roxy.
Bi curious. That was stinky. That
Bi,
was a stinky moment.
Bi Furious. Bi Furious is a good pun though.
It is a good pun.
Uh, I like that pun. It's a good pun. But like, maybe don't characterize like women being queer as just like something that they
Quirky,
regret or as something to be quirky. It's
spicy straight.
spicy straight or something like that. It doesn't don't fetishize it. Don't frame it in a way that invalidates the culture and the experience and the identity. It's like it's not that hard. But again, 2010 and white male author who, well, biracial as you mentioned before, but like cishet author that's like, women kissing. sexy for me, not
Seg.
because they have their own, identities and personalities and, their own experience outside of my lens and outside of my view. Not at all. Can we go back to talking about the good things about this? Because now I'm getting upset.
Like
We
what?
do like the movie. I don't know.
What
Like,
else
there
is
are problems with it, and
what's
that's
good
why we're
about it,
pointing
Krista?
them out.
What's good about the movie?
Envy Adams.
Yes. That's a good
The
point.
women. The women are the good thing about the
Julie
movie.
Julie is the hero secretly. Julie being the barista that Aubrey Plaza plays.
A worm. Is this theory of yours,
she's
or are
like,
you just saying it?
well, I'm just saying it because she's like the one who throughout the movie is like, Scott, please don't.
Mm-hmm. Leave her alone. Leave Ramona alone. Literally!
Yeah.
She was like, at the party where Scott is like trying to stalk Ramona, who later becomes his girlfriend, which again, into this whole trope of like male characters being rewarded for their creepy ass behavior. It's like, Scott, please don't talk to her. You're ruining my party. Leave her alone. She's like really cool and you're gonna scare her away. Which is completely valid because she knows that he's toxic, because he is toxic. Ugh.
Ooh, wait.
But
She had a crush on him in college, apparently, according to
did she?
the fandom.
According to the fandom.
But also, like, still the best character because does
Still
not
the
like
best
Scott.
character. Honestly, the female cast of this movie really, really slaps. I don't remember the name of the actress who played Knives Chow, but it's like, it's Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who again, very famous, very accomplished. Brie Larson. I don't remember the name of the actress who plays Kim,
Allison
but she's
Pill.
in a lot of things.
Allison Pill is her name. I just
Yeah.
Mae Whitman, the voice
Mae
of Cora.
Whitman,
Aubrey Plaza.
Aubrey Plaza, just so many
Anna
people.
Kendrick. How did I?
Yeah, oh my god, I forgot about her, but I love her. Yes.
Very iconic.
Very iconic cast. Which also brings us to another issue: is how does Scott end up with like all these great women and these beautiful people when he sucks?
He's reformed. He's changed. He's
not in the movie
he's
though.
made some mistakes in his past, but now he's better, and this is what happens.
He literally sucks so much.
He deserves
I don't understand
this.
how he ended up with a single one of them. Like, they don't deserve him. Which again, I don't want to like fall into this trap of like, ah ha ha, cutie, and I don't know why I keep making that noise. I should stop making that noise. It's a fuckboy noise, but I keep doing it. It's like these certain expectations of like beautiful people only up with beautiful people, and like a conventionally unattractive man ends up with a conventionally unattractive woman or stuff like that. But it's like, Scott Pilgrim sucks. His personality is shit. He's a mean person. Not mean person, but he's like a toxic person who doesn't have any sense of responsibility. He doesn't respect the people he's in relationships with. He doesn't, care enough about them to like put in effort. But he's still ending up with like these people who are like clearly well developed and accomplished and have their lives outside of him. And it's like, but for why? What does he have to offer you?
He's in a band.
He's in a band. He's a skinny white twink.
Oh,
Not even a twink. I can't even call him a twink. He's straight. He's.
We haven't talked about the roommate at all, Wallace.
Oh, Wallace.
What do
I
you
have
think about
mixed
Wallace?
feelings about
I
Wallace.
also have mixed feelings about Wallace. But I don't. What mixed feelings are you talking about? Because I don't. I'm kind of just like indifferent. But I feel like you're
Gay
gonna say
best
something.
friend mixed feelings.
Oh yeah, that. That.
That.
But he's like, I like how it's like not the typical kind of. He's very mask presenting, which is
very
nice.
mask presenting, which I know is in.
But also like he still like calls all the females and like turns the boyfriends.
Oh
like, in
yeah.
that first scene.
The gay adulterer trope. Don't like that. Don't like that. Don't like how he's characterized as like this seducer who's like turning like all these straight guys gay. Like, that's not fun. Not great. Bad.
It's kind of an interesting character apart from that. Like he's
like
all of the
a
performances
decent
are
character.
very.
Like, he's a decent person who has his shit together. Like, he's not a bumbling buffoon or anything like that. And it's like, it's nice to see. It's not a great representation, but it's not necessarily homophobic representation in the typical sense where he's like super effeminate and that's seen as a bad thing. And he doesn't like actively get oppressed in the movie, I think.
Not really.
Yeah, he doesn't like get called the F slur.
He's very
anything like that.
he's very commodified though. I feel like
that is true. But at least like him being commodified isn't necessarily on basis of him being gay. Like, him being gay is not necessarily a plot point like it was in The Happiest Season. Like the movie, or like Waltz's character isn't just like, oh yeah, he's gay, therefore he must be oppressed. He must be being called the F slur like constantly. He must not be happy. He must not be successful. And it's like, no, he's doing great. There are issues about his characterization that fall into like certain tropes that are uncomfortable and that we don't appreciate, but like he's doing fine. There's nothing necessarily that bad about it.
Yeah. I'm very now. I'm like thinking about if I actually like. Well, it's a good movie. It's a good movie.
Good movie. It's a
Good movie.
gorgeous movie.
But it's hard because all the characters are, or most of the characters are like poopy.
Like upon later reflection, it's like, ugh, but why couldn't it be better? And I think that's something that comes with just like growing and loving movies so much. It's you recognize being able to recognize the faults in something that you like is
Very good.
I don't know, important. Like it's a sign of not necessarily growth, but it's just like, hey, realize that this thing that you enjoy isn't necessarily flawless and there are things to be improved upon it, but you can still enjoy it. Like just because something is quote unquote problematic doesn't mean there isn't still something that you can take out of it that you appreciate.
Yes, a sign of intelligence, if you will.
A sign of intelligence, if you will. We're very intelligent people, if you couldn't tell.
If you couldn't tell by our
our podcast.
Yes.
Our weird banter.
Or your weird banter while I sit here in silence. But
literally, George, how dare you? But also, you're right. I should give you more time to speak. This is going to be the episode where you got
I can't formulate words. I think that much is clear. But that's that. That's our nice little review. We never wait. Let's do numbers. What number would you give it? Wait, you cut out. Say it again.
Oh, ooh, a 7 out of 10.
I also said 7.
Like, again, things to be improved. But goddamn, that one scene with Envy Adams is so good. I give it 7
Link
for that
in the
one
description.
Guys, it's really, really good. It's Brie Larson on stage, and she's singing Black Sheep, and it's mwah, beautiful, gorgeous.
Well, there you go. That's all for today. I hope you enjoyed our 42-minute review of Scott Pilgrim vs.
Wow, very long.
Apparently, we can only talk about movies, but yes, we're here. Hopefully, next time we'll talk about something more
substantial.
We always like flip it though, so it's like actually in-depth conversation about stuff instead of just like movie. Like that's half of it.
Movie good, we like.
Brie Larson and V. Adam. But yeah, thank you. Next week,
bye.
back on Steeped. Pip-plop.